Today I want to show you how to make a trellis for pole beans. This trellis is going to be about 8 feet tall, and it's going to be made out of cattle panels and a couple of T-posts. Let's get to it. Here's the main ingredient for today's cattle panel trellis, and that is kind of self-explanatory, a cattle panel. These cattle panels are 16 feet long, meaning you can get 2 8-foot tall trellises out of one panel. I measured to the center at 8 feet. I like to put a block under the middle, just a couple of 2x4s screwed together. And I'm gonna take a metal cutoff wheel and go down both sides, and that'll give us some prongs to stick into the ground. Here's our cut piece. Now instead of one 16-foot panel, we've got 2 8-foot panels. Well, I've got all these panels stacked up here. I figure it's as good of a time as any to mention my bean trellis title is kind of misleading, because these trellises could be used for anything. Anything that vines out will benefit from these. You could put Malabar spinach, cucumbers, beans, any type of pole beans. You could put moonflowers or any type of morning glory. There's all sorts of stuff that you could put onto these. I'm just using these specifically for beans. I might add a couple of cucumbers just to have a little bit of variety, but really these are 7-foot trellises to put anything onto. I would think you could even weave a tomato back and forth between each one of these gaps, so don't think you just have to use it for beans. So the next step in this trellis building operation is going to depend on how exactly you're going about things. If you're building this and you're just looking to get plants in the ground as quick as possible, what I would do, and what I did do actually, is plant whatever you want to be growing in advance. You can put them in the ground, put your seeds in the ground, and space them out how you want. And you can mark them with stakes so you don't trample over them, or if you get a second to put up your trellis before they sprout, you know where to put it. If you're building this, say in the winter, and you want to have beans on it in the spring and summer, well, of course, you're not going to want to plant your beans right away. They're not going to do too well in the freezing cold. So if you're doing it in advance and you have time, just go ahead and build your trellis. Either way, what you want to do to get the trellis up is go just behind the center line of your 2 rows. I'm going about 7 inches back from this front row, and I'm gonna put the tape from one pole to the other. I'm reading about 52 inches. That means I need to go to 26 inches on my tape, which is pretty close to where I was, right about here. It really would have been close enough for garden work. Then once you get it where you want it, you want to grab a T-post driver. I'm not going to be able to do that one-handed, of course. I guess I can get it started. You want to try to get it as straight up and down as you can. It's not really going to matter that much, but if you want it to look nice, straight up and down is always better. Got this centered about as well as I'm going to get it. I'm just going to step on this and get it pushed into the ground as deep as it'll go. Depending on how hard your ground is, you might not want to put these posts into the ground. You might just want to use 2 T-posts, but I'm cheap so I just wanted to use one T-post. I didn't want to use two. Now that that's up there, all that's left is to put a couple of pieces of fence wire on. This is 14 gauge fence wire. I honestly don't think it needs to be anywhere near as strong as this is. You may as well overdo it if you don't want to do it again. Frankly, I think that this would probably hold where it is if I put it on with bread ties, because there's not going to be a whole lot of force on this trellis. I've got all of these wires, all three of them, set where I can just grab onto them with my fencing pliers. I'll give them a twist until they're snug. Really don't want to take it too far because it's just going to snap on you. Then I'm going to flatten these out. I'm going to shear that off just to keep from poking myself with these sharp ends. I'm going to bend those all the way down, and that'll do it. It's not going to hurt if this wobbles up here. It's down at the bottom that the plants really need the support. I'll be back with 3 new trellises, other than the one I've already made. All right, we've got all 4 of these cattle panel trellises secured onto their posts. The posts all driven down about the same depth. And we have beans sprouting up on every one of them. Something's already eating on some of these. Can't really help that though. I guess I'll pick up all of my marker posts and move on to the next project. Never a shortage of things to do out in the garden. Hope you enjoyed. I know I did. Always good to have something new set up in the garden and another place to plant. I'll see you in the next one.